The Adams County Sheriff will stop live streaming after a questionable chase. Instead, he's going to put his department on the TV show Cops.
On the NFL's biggest night, announcers and even the president are calling out inequity in the league's most powerful positions.
With the Broncos' future up in the air, we look at the coaching legacy they'll aim to recapture.
On the night of the Super Bowl, the one thing that might be bigger, curling. It's on the big screen, and it's an Olympic Super Bowl showdown coming up.
9 News at 10 starts now. The sheriff for Adams County, facing questions about live streaming a police chase, has struck a deal to be featured on the TV show Cops.
Sheriff Rick Reigenborn, Democrat running for re-election, said that he was done answering our questions about his live streaming. Questions like why he joined a pursuit from 6 miles away, why he kept chasing live online when other officers felt it was too dangerous. Here's Steve Staeger with the story.
Buckle up. Adams County Sheriff Rick Reigenborn calls his weekly Facebook live stream community outreach. Yet this weekend he announced his department will welcome the entertainment business.
Recently, I signed a contract with Langley Productions, and we're going to be on Cops real soon.
Reigenborn has faced questions after live streaming a pursuit where he appeared to violate his department's pursuit policy. His department has yet to answer our questions about whether they'll make money off this production or if it will extend beyond the sheriff's term should he not be reelected this year. We've also asked the sheriff's department who approached who about this. I reached out to several Adams County commissioners to see what they thought of this. All of them got back to me, said no comment, Kyle.
And Steve, we can't forget the reason that Cops is off TV and out of a lot of cities is because America came to the conclusion that this can be really detrimental to communities being policed and sometimes to the officers themselves.
Part of the reason why I reached out to the Adams County commissioners is because a lot of city councils have decided to pass laws to try to keep cops out of their communities.
Steve Staeger, thank you.
The Los Angeles Rams and former Denver Bronco Von Miller are Super Bowl champs. They beat the Bengals in LA tonight.
All right, that means that Von can come back. That's great news for Broncos fans. Now, this year's NFL playoffs had some epic finishes, and tonight we came down to the final minute. That's 4th and 1 for the Bengals, and that's a no. And the Rams come out 23-20 winners. Colleague Tom Green joins us from Mile High tonight. So, talking Broncos, they get to look ahead to a new season. Perhaps a chance, Tom, to create some stability in the franchise on a number of levels and get back on track.
Yeah, the chance is there, and the changes are going to have to come because since winning Super Bowl 50, the Broncos haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. They posted 5 straight losing seasons. Clearly, this is a franchise that is currently sailing through the most turbulent waters. By the time of the start of next season, we'll likely see a new quarterback, probably a new owner as well, and there already is the new head coach and a new staff, things changing from the top down. Now, all this is happening as there are 8 new head coaches in the NFL for next season, and today President Biden was calling out the NFL for the lack of black head coaches and ownership in the league. And before today's game, NBC announcer and former head coach Tony Dungy talked about how he thinks the process needs to change.
The system is not working. My number one reason why it's not, the process is rushed. We're putting everything into a 3-week period of time. We're interviewing, we're trying to make decisions, and that period of time is during the playoffs. Don't interview until after the Super Bowl. Don't hire for 10 days after the Super Bowl, and that will let the owners slow down, gather information, and make better decisions.
Well, it's not just coaches. There's also a dearth as far as owners when it comes to diversity. There are only 2 minority owners in the league right now, something that people will be paying attention to with the Broncos up for sale. So our Broncos insider Mike Klis is with us now. Let's talk about the sale. You've had a chance to talk to the one name that's been in the headlines lately, media mogul Byron Allen.
Wouldn't that be funny? Yeah, Byron Allen is the one guy who's come out and said he wants to buy the Denver Broncos. And he's only worth $450 million per Forbes. But when you're talking about a $4 billion transaction, we think, Byron Allen says he's got a who's who list of investors. Wouldn't say who they are, but they're celebrities, they're sports guys, real estate entrepreneurs. He says he can get that capital together, and he definitely wants to buy the Broncos for a greater cause.
Well, whether it's him or not, how long does this process look like it's going to take, and how does a team operate when they're in limbo like they are right now?
Yeah, there's going to be two parallel paths. It's going to be 4 or 5 months probably till they sell this team. Steve Greenberg, the Hall of Famer Hank's son, he's going through the whole thing. He's vetting all the possibilities. In the meantime, Joe Ellis, George Payton, it's a lot of football stuff. George Payton is running the football operations. He's got possibly a trade for a quarterback coming up. Then he's got free agency. All that'll go on. Joe Ellis will still, he's the controlling owner delegee. He'll oversee the budget still.
And then there's still the names Peyton Manning and John Elway floating on the periphery. I know you'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes in sports. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, Mike. Well, it was 17 days ago that the Broncos hired head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Now, after coming over from Green Bay, his staff is now nearly complete. Of course, when you look at the coaching tree, if you will, it is Hackett at the top, and then you start to see some familiar names. Well, they're familiar to him anyway. He's brought in Justin Outen as his new offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak is the quarterback coach. Outen worked last year with tight ends in the Packers. Kubiak, of course, no stranger to Denver, growing up here to watch his dad coach and play, and later working as an offensive assistant for the Broncos for a couple of years. Hackett also bringing in Butch Berry to coach the offensive line. They too worked together in Green Bay. And then you have a lot of the defensive staff that may be coming over along with special teams from the Rams, now finished up with their Super Bowl. Ejiro Evero is considered to be the defensive coordinator. Dwayne Stukes will be running the special teams, and one more is coming over from the Rams that Mike Klis will be talking about a little bit later on. Well, it's not just coaches that are part of the things that are changing here with the Broncos. It's the things that have happened over the many years. Nathaniel Hackett becoming the 18th head coach in all time for the Broncos, and as you take a look at who he would like to become, those who came before him, there's quite a legacy of coaching here, both high and low. As it stands, Mike Shanahan is the most prominent face on the Broncos' Mount Rushmore, the winningest coach in franchise history with 2 Super Bowl rings. Next to him is his former boss, the late Dan Reeves. He won 110 games here and went to 3 Super Bowls. Red Miller put the Broncos on the map, leading the Orange Crush to the team's first Super Bowl and forever changed the Broncos' culture. And Gary Kubiak, who despite only being the head coach for 2 seasons, was a fixture as a player and an assistant before leading the team to triumph in Super Bowl 50. Then there are the rest. From the 3 who only coached the Broncos for a handful of games as interim head coaches, to those with personalities that were more memorable than their game plans.
They're killing me, Whitey. They're killing me. Yeah, there's only one little deal he could be in.
John Ralston could fire up a team.
Now this is when you find out what kind of football team we have.
And he helped to build the Broncos' first Super Bowl roster. But he left before Red led that magical 1977 team. There have been some young, surefire phenoms and veterans who've been around the block a few times. By winning percentage, the winningest coach in team history is probably best remembered for falling short.
Seattle won the toss called tails. Before you could blink your eyes, Denver was down and only got worse.
While the losingest coach by percentage just went into the Hall of Fame, just not for his coaching. And Nathaniel Hackett, now the 18th head coach. Of course, 18, pretty good number around here. It's retired back there for a couple of guys, both Frank Tripucka and Peyton Manning. Of course, he hasn't called a play or blown a whistle yet, but the offseason will be important here. And then Nathaniel Hackett will really get a chance to put his fingerprints all over this franchise.
Yeah, and see if he can get his face up there on, I assume that's the flat irons, Tom, that we did some demo work on and put those faces on. That's flat irons?
We traveled to South Dakota and did a very detailed study of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hackett's got some climbing to do, but it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Not often that Olympics are the silver medal in a sports day, but they are today in this country. In Beijing, Julia Marino, CU grad who lives in Breck, backed out of the snowboarding big air competition today. She was injured during practice. Following this newscast, Silverthorne's Red Gerard and Chris Corning have their qualifying runs.
And Matt Renoux joins us from VAIL. And Matt, they set up a big screen today, and even during the Super Bowl, they switched from the Winter Games.
Pretty amazing, Kim and Kyle. That's because it's Super Gold Sunday, a mix of Super Bowl and Olympic events to watch. And while VAIL did have the Olympics up on their big screen, the Olympic event they had up on that big screen was a tough sell against the Super Bowl. Doggone good night for sports in VAIL. They have a live viewing screen set up on the International Bridge with the most scenic view around, under the moon, to watch the Olympics. Even when the Super Bowl is on in a ski town like VAIL, they're showing the Olympics. But the Olympic event showing was curling, Italy against Sweden. An amazing curling match to be sure, but only a few people stopped to watch it. But it's something that still drew very little attention, even among a lot of the people that were stopping to watch. A couple from Colombia who really didn't know anything about curling just said they didn't know what the heck was going on. Now that the Super Bowl is wrapped up, we can focus again on the Olympics. As Kyle just mentioned, Red Gerard from Silverthorne will be competing in big air. Michaela Schifrin will be doing the downhill tomorrow. And check this picture out. Fresh off of the Beijing Olympics, just left and popped up at the Super Bowl, Shaun White. Kim, Kyle, guess who is enjoying retirement right now?
How about that?
Go. Way to go. Go to the biggest party.
Close one chapter and enjoy your time. Matt, thank you so much. Today in Colorado, an avalanche carried a skier off a cliff. Rescuers say it is incredible he was able to come off the mountain. Mom helped.
Von Miller's second Super Bowl ring wasn't with the Broncos, but it wouldn't have happened without them. His post-game message to Denver. Search and rescue crews say a man should be dead after falling off a cliff in an avalanche on Loveland Pass today. Instead, he walked away with minor injuries, thanks in part to his mom. The Summit County Rescue Group says the mother and her son were picking up a piece of gear they lost on a ridge. The son triggered the slide, riding the debris as much as 300 feet. His mom managed to hike down to dig him out, and they skied out on their own.
Sports betting groups expect today to be the biggest day in sports betting history. $7.6 billion in sweet action from more than 31 million bettors, according to the American Gaming Association. Here in Colorado, since we legalized sports betting in 2020, we've topped more than $5 billion in bets.
Talk about a super Sunday in Colorado. Close to 60 degrees in Denver today. But there's a storm coming. Snow's back in the forecast. I'll have the timing and details just ahead.
I want to give you a heads up on a nasty crash that has closed I-70 eastbound at Havana and Central Park, Denver into Aurora. Several cars involved in this crash. 5 people taken to the hospital. I-70 East closed through that stretch.
What a beautiful way to close out our Super Sunday here in Colorado. Did you see that little wave cloud off to the west tonight when the sun went down? National Weather Service in Boulder sharing this glorious shot with us. We have another beautiful day coming up tomorrow. Close to 60, a Valentine's Day forecast to love, but snow comes back into the forecast for us Tuesday night into Wednesday. Temperatures this time of year are typically in the mid-40s, upper 50s, low 60s today, something we're going to see again tomorrow. It's still pretty mild outside right now. DIA at 37 with light winds out of the southwest. And you know what? How was your weekend? Up in Steamboat, it was the Winter Carnival. My buddy Bob Dapper was the Grand Marshal, and combining two of my favorite things, horseback riding and skiing. What a great time up there. And you know, we want to remind you that February is our 4th snowiest month with 7.7 inches of snow. Out of DIA for the month, we're getting closer, 6.5 inches for the month. Many of you have seen numbers that have far exceeded these, but this is where we measure the snow at the airport, and we're slowly playing catch up. By the end of February, we like to be close to 35 inches of snow. We're just running about 10 inches behind. But guess what? There's another storm coming. This one comes in Tuesday into Wednesday, and like the last one, could bring 3 to 6 inches of snow. Ahead of it, another warm, dry day. Sunshine tomorrow, close to 60. Cold air is just to the east of us. We don't really have much of an impact from the incoming Pacific storm until late Tuesday. Clouds will be increasing. The wind will be increasing on Tuesday, but we're not going to see that snow start to move into the metro area until Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So Tuesday by 7 o'clock, mostly cloudy. By the drive time Wednesday morning, we start to see that snow fill in. Snows all day Wednesday, again leading us to 3 to 4 inches across the metro area, with 4 to 6 in some of those favored foothill locales like Boulder, Evergreen, Lakewood, Littleton. Lows tonight with fair skies. How about 26 for Denver, 18 Lyman, -4 in Gunnison, and -7 in Granby. Beautiful day tomorrow. Upper 50s, low 60s to kick off your week. We'll see these numbers again on Tuesday. It all changes on Wednesday. Let's break it down. Tonight it is calm and quiet. Our low at 26. That's where you start tomorrow morning. Quick warm up with southwest winds. We've got mid to upper 50s tomorrow and Tuesday, but Tuesday gets cloudy, it gets windy. Snow comes in Tuesday night into Wednesday. Wednesday's high won't get above freezing. 3 to 6 inches of snow. Thursday morning clearing. We start at 11 degrees and then a slow warming trend. Sunshine and 50s for Friday and next weekend. So much more ahead. A break and we'll be back. Stay with us.
Thanks to Denver, man. Thank you to all the guys over there as well, man. It's been a crazy 365 days.
Von Miller was bummed when the Broncos traded him away to LA. He actually cried, but sometimes things work out. For the second time in his NFL career, Von Miller is a Super Bowl champion. Rams, Bengals, LA led by a field goal at half, but the Bengals got back into it to start the second. At the very start of the second, Joe Burrow to T. Higgins, 75-yard touchdown in the very first play of the third quarter. Higgins, by the way, got away with an offensive pass interference since he led for the first time. Von Miller had 2.5 sacks when he was the Super Bowl 50 MVP. Tonight, he tied an all-time Super Bowl record with 4.5 total. Got 2 more. Speaking of 2, that's how many touchdowns Cooper Kupp had. He's your MVP this season. And then the D made that lead last since he had a chance to tie. Aaron Donald says, I don't think so. Your Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams, 23-20 was the final. Let's turn our focus now to the Broncos. They've got a head coach. Now they need an owner and a quarterback. Let's go live to Mike Klis at Mile High. And Mike, there could be a Broncos QB connection to that new ownership group.
Rod, ultimately, the person who puts up $4 billion is going to decide whether they want Peyton Manning or John Elway or both on the team. But what is really rich is that both Peyton and Elway are interested in joining ownership. It makes for an intriguing image. Peyton Manning battling John Elway for the right to own a piece of the Denver Broncos. But for more, it's more Drew Litton cartoon than it is black and white reality. What's true is that Elway and Manning are both interested in some sort of attachment to the Broncos' new ownership group. They are the 2 best quarterbacks in franchise history. Elway number 1, Peyton 2. Both are multimillionaires, but not billionaires. So neither has the financial portfolio to approach the means necessary to become the majority investor of a Broncos franchise that figures to command $4 billion. Elway told 9 News a couple weeks ago that he wants in as a minority owner. He no longer wants a spotlight role. Instead, he'd like to stay in the background as an advisor to the new owner. Manning is a little different. He has prospective bidders calling him, and he's interested enough to listen. But as you can tell every time you turn on your TV, Peyton has a lot going on.
A fresh take on feminism, finally.
If Peyton does get involved with ownership, there is little question he would eventually become front and center. He knows more about football than anyone on the planet. He would not sign up with the Broncos and then sit back and watch people nowhere near as smart as him run things. I've been told NFL owners are hoping Manning becomes part of their fraternity. Neither Elway or Manning are presently aligned with a potential ownership group. Best to wait until there's a lead horse. Is there room for both Elway and Manning? Maybe, but let's allow the Broncos to first find their top owner. Let him arrange the chairs for the top 2 quarterbacks in franchise history.
A first for the Avs, first time they've ever played on Super Bowl Sunday, which means they've never lost on Super Bowl Sunday. 1-0 after blanking the Dayglow Stars in Dallas this afternoon. Nathan McKinnon's first game back from surgery, a good one. Nate's assisted on the game's first goal. The captain scored twice. Avs win 4-0. And a big win for CSU, the Cowboys. are in the top of the Mountain West now. That's because CSU went to Boise State and beat the Broncos in overtime. Wyoming now atop the Mountain West. What's going on?
Super Bowl, Olympics, news, now more Olympics. Are you not entertained? Good night.